Well, Andrea, today it's time to talk about more pond talk. I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, I had warned you that you might be out on the show after watching What's Coming. I thought this episode was okay, but What's Coming, I didn't think you would be enjoying. So,
This is Eric.
this is Andrea.
This is Hallmark Mysteries and
And
more.
more.
This podcast was created by fans for fans and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Hallmark or the Hallmark channel.
All right. Well, we are in episode 2 of season 3 of The Way Home, The Way We Were. Each member of the Landry family meets challenges as new truths come to light. So, you can start. What did you like about this episode, Eric?
I think that they're doing some pretty good music.
Okay.
Basically, me being the Gen X guy, they had to spend some bucks.
Oh, yeah.
So, Spill the Wine, War, that they're the band, Eric Burden. I was pretty surprised they have that. They had Elton John in there, uh, Seals and Croft. So and the thing is, they're not just doing little tiny, tiny clips, because I believe the way the royalties work is like the more you play, the more you pay kind of thing. And
Mhm.
they're doing kind of a little more extended thing. It's not like just a little riff, it's a good chunk of, at least a chorus kind of thing. So you get it. So they invested in music.
That's all you got?
Yes, I'm trying to be positive here. So I think the music's good. It's 1974, little bit before my time, but I still, being a kid of the 80s, the 70s was close and still, like my brothers, that was like their jam. And so I still got it. Eric Burton, like I say, uh, he's fantastic. So yeah, real good music.
Okay. Well, I have more to add then. I enjoyed that they went to the 70s and I liked seeing Colton and Dell meet for the first time. I thought that was kind of fun seeing them at the beach and interesting to see Dell. I mean, I guess I had never thought of her as a, teenager, but in her attitude present day, yeah, that would strike me as the way they portrayed her in the 70s. I guess, again, I hadn't thought about it. She seemed kind of cold and kind of like walls are up, but present day Dell is kind of the same. So I guess that would make sense. She's just kind of more aloof in some ways. I thought that the Vic Augustine, did I say that right? Augustine,
Yeah.
seeing him as a boy, and just seeing where his attitude might have started and becoming the man he is today. I thought that was nice to see why, his dad, is the way he is, a little more cold and mean. But then going to Mexico and now he's coming back and getting married and he had a change of heart. But then at the end of the episode, he's back to his old Vic ways, it seems, and back to being more cold in nature and digging for a ring, which then does that make you time travel? I have questions there. Is Elliot time traveling with a ring? What, the end of the episode, which I suppose we can slide into what we didn't like. Um, that's where it started for me, for what I didn't like. I really enjoyed this episode, but when they showed what's coming next, and I guess how they end this, I didn't really enjoy that because I'm now a little more confused about. I'm not a big time travel person. I know you are more into those, type of shows than I am, but I suppose there are rules with time travel and I don't know what they are anymore. And if people are kind of going back and forth and it doesn't matter if you're a Landry, you can be anyone and jump in this pond. Um,
I don't
that
think
to me
they
might
care what rules are either.
I
So
yeah, and this is where that could lose it for me a little bit if we're just going to be people coming in and out and why hasn't that been happening until season 3? Because if that truly has been happening, wouldn't we have already seen someone in the past 2 seasons, coming out of the pond, right?
sure, like there is the thing of the what I forget what her name is, the intern, whether or not she time traveled or not.
Yep. Yep, yep.
But all right.
What didn't you like then?
Well, first of all, let me preface this. I think, just as a general rule of thumb, season threes of any series are always the hardest one to do. Because I think season one, like, hey, we got this great idea. Here's what it is. And then season two is you kind of say, and then this is where it could go. So like that's your thinking, right? When you create a series, like here's where it is, here's how it's got legs. But by season three, you're all right, what are we going to do? And you're just making crap up. And so often in many, many series, season threes are usually, in my opinion, either the make or break.
Okay.
Right. And I fall off in season threes all the time. So it's not a surprise I don't particularly like this, especially in a series that I'm not super partial to begin with. But let's just break this down. So Colton time travels. He's hopping out of the pond, right? But we already knew from the last episode he's time traveling.
Yeah.
So I'll say I'm not the biggest paying attention to all the whole things, but wasn't a big part of season one how Colton was so distraught because he lost Jacob and he was in like therapy for it. He spent the entire Landry fortune trying to figure things out or whatever. If he's time traveling,
why didn't
he knows all this stuff, right? So to me, it just seems like the writers are kind of like, we'll just forget all those previous seasons because also then he's time traveling. He knows Alice is showing up on that beach. Like, I don't know. It just, the whole thing, or going in the future, it just, like you said, there's rules just to make it make sense, but it doesn't seem like they really care. And they're just going to go for the drama and everything like that. So they're not going to really be bogged down by, hey, does this pass a logic test? Now, granted, time travel in itself may not be the most of like, hey, this is a proven science kind of thing, but there should be a little bit of logic to it. So you can at least follow it and, you put up a little, we'll create a little murder board, whatever thing. It should just make sense when you start doing a little diagramming. And this, to me, just literally makes no sense. So
yeah, I mean, I'm with you. And then it's also tricky where you're like, okay, well, present day Colton, he did die eventually. So but like his past self, could they change that? Could you rewrite history? Like there's just so many, like if you really think deep about it, you're like, oh, don't know if this again makes sense. So I kind of try to release all of that. I will say the other thing that I was worried about, which did come true, was Vic's brother. Since we did know nothing about him, I was worried the whole time. I'm like, oh no, he's gonna die. He's gonna die. And then sure enough, we find out that he was in that car accident leaving that beach party. And I'm like, oh man, like that was, to me, it was like the back of, my head the whole one. So I couldn't really relax into this episode because I was like, oh no, something's going to happen to him. So that was a bummer, which then again explains more with present day Vic. And since Elliot had said they don't talk about him much, and then they now know why. But again, I am curious why. I don't know if I enjoy the Augustine, Goodwins, Coles, plus Kat and their family. It's just so many families to keep track of. We have now the 1800s version, the 1970s version, present day version, and then trying to keep all of the people sorted in like, okay, goes with this family. This is the younger person here. Wait, who is that blonde, curly haired? Was she the older lady that was in that wheelchair last season that died? So much. There's so many questions there that's where I'm like, okay, I have to really like sit down and do a murder board to track the families.
and I think if it was very well written out and they cared, it would all make sense. I don't see it. I don't see it happening. Maybe it will. Maybe I'll be
Pleasantly
I don't know.
surprised. Well, what about standout scenes or performances? Did you have one that you really enjoyed there?
Well, wait, I still have more issues.
Oh, I thought you were done.
No.
Okay. No wonder you said this is going to take 15 minutes. Okay.
Kat just proves again she's an awful human being in this. She's just a terrible. Before they go in the pond, Elliot, I can't take care of you. Get out of here, right? Yes, she apologizes for it later, but still, her true being. She shows up at Coils, and she's just completely a terrible person to Alice again. Whatever, like cats. Then she's like creeping in the bushes, watching the party. Where if it was a guy, you'd be calling the police, being like, "There is a creeper in these bushes spying at us."
Oh.
Alice is just a terrible, terrible, terrible human being.
You mean cat?
Cat, excuse me. The other thing is what. So I remember, like, I was kind of too young really for it, but my brother was very much like a Colton of disco socks rock and roll, right? That was like the big thing in the late 70s was this big battle. And it was, being from Detroit too, there's a huge thing in history where Detroit, they did a thing is at a baseball game, and it was like burn disco records, and it turned into this like massive riot thing because it just went out of control.
Oh.
Right, against the Chicago, I believe it was against the White Sox. Maybe it was at the White Sox, but Detroit was involved. But regardless, it was a huge battle. But the thing I do know is if you're from rural North Carolina, like Dell was, odds are you're not liking disco. You are full Southern rock kind of thing. So for Dell to be saying, "Hey, I love disco," I don't think there's somebody in the 70s in North Carolina really who was liking it. But whatever. Now I'm getting petty. This, that, or the other.
That's a great
So,
question because my parents are both from small towns and it would have been the 70s and I neither one of them have ever talked about disco. Like I don't think that was their jam either. So that would track
and
with my small sample size of my parents.
and then so here's the other thing, and I'll go like to personal. So that this guy, what was his name again? The Vic's brother, the older one, Rob.
Rick? Is it Rick?
Rick is Colton's best friend, right? They're
Yep.
besties.
Yeah.
And he gets killed
Yep.
in a car crash. Colton never talks about him, so people just don't know. Now, I will tell you, I had my best friend get killed in a car crash when I was 19, so it's pretty similar age. Both my kids know everything about this kid, everything. My son's named after him. It was like he was my best friend, right?
Yeah.
His legacy, I carry it on. And for this person to never have been mentioned and ever like, oh, okay, I can say, okay, Vic, like I'm bearing it. I'm the pain of my brother, whatever, one thing. But if you're best friend, you would want to be carrying that legacy, especially in letting your kids know and stuff. So I think that's like a really weird thing of like, oh, we're just introducing this guy who is so pivotal to Colton's existence. And then last thing, Colton is this like little singer and everything guitar player. He has no guitar of his own, so he's like needs to wait for this guitar to come from his friends. Like he should have had his own guitar and then be like, oh, I'll replace my guitar. But no, it's like, oh, now you have a guitar. So once again, I'm
Maybe
petty,
they didn't have the money.
and stuff. So, that he had no money, but then he hops in and he starts belting out. He was pretty. The guy can play a guitar, whoever that.
Yeah, he was good. I thought he was a good singer
and
too.
a good singer too. Yeah. So
I thought
like I
him and
said,
Alice sounded
music.
great.
I'm not gonna bag on the music. So
No. Well, I mean, I can give the pass to the friend. My little brother lost his best friend in a snowmobile accident, and it was very tragic. And he now, 12 years later, he doesn't talk about him as much. I don't think he's usually around his anniversary because it happened kind of almost before Christmas. And so I think sometimes the pain is just there and it's a lot to like bring up, and there's survivor's guilt for it. There's a lot. So there can be a lot.
That is a true thing.
So I'm like, I can forgive that because sometimes you're just like, it's a lot. It's a lot there. So, what about then your standout scene or performance? Did you have one?
I'll give it to the Colton kid playing guitar at that little clam bake beach party, whatever. That was a pretty good scene when he was sitting there doing Summer Breeze. Like
I enjoyed that.
He was fantastic, fantastic.
I would second that, but I had a different one that I kind of liked film wise how they did this when Dell was standing by the pickup and she was talking to current day Jacob, And then she looked back at the field and saw little Jacob running through. And then as it went, as she's kind of watching him, the pickup's there. And then, little Jacob stops and she turns to see present day Jacob. That one did it for me. Like that was like that was cute. So that one pulled at my heartstrings. So I enjoyed how they filmed that and that scene.
Oh, by the way, how about Sam saying "I love you" and Dell dropping "That's nice"? Classic. Um,
Oh,
yeah, I don't know.
that's funny.
Sam's got to be some time traveler.
Yeah, that's
There's
that
no,
is
there's no doubt that guy
I'm going to
does
circle back to that actually.
time
Well, we can
travel.
go there right now, because that is my next comments of what we're hoping is coming. And that was mine, is knowing more about Sam. Like, what do I hope is coming? I'm intrigued by Sam. There is some like, do we know Sam's last name? No, I don't. Yeah. And so I
I
feel
don't
like
know. Maybe
he's got to be connected some way to these families that we're referencing from the 1800s. So I really want to know more about him. And did he push Alice? Like, who was he? Was he in the 70s as well? Like, I have some questions around maybe who he was. Maybe he was a friend, or he was at the beach, or maybe we haven't met him yet as a young kid, and maybe he's changed his name present day. Many questions. I'm intrigued, but many questions around Sam.
I'm just hoping for a quick, painless death.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, any final thoughts or maybe questions from this episode that we have?
Like I say, I'm just the time travel thing. I'm just hoping it doesn't get to the point where it's just ludicrous, and I think it's teetering.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where I was. I thought, I'm like, this was a great episode, but then again, where it ended, again, if they wouldn't have shown us what is coming, like the preview for what's next, or even having Colton coming out of the pond, I would have been like, okay, like that was a good episode. I'm liking where we're going this season. But then when they showed Colton coming out and then they showed what's coming next, then none of
Time
it really
travel for you. Time travel for you.
right. It
Time
doesn't
travel for
track.
you.
Now we have the blonde haired gal coming. It looks like she travels as well. And so now everyone's traveling. And then it makes it harder to question, how did Dell not know any of this was happening, right? Because this would have been on her property and she's lived there for how many years? Like I used to go, we had a creek behind my house growing up. And if that was time traveling, my mom would be well aware of it. But she also knew like we would go back to the creek. Like she would come back to
Wait,
find us at
have
the
you?
creek as young kids.
Wait,
Like
come
we
on.
would go out by ourselves and
Fess up.
like,
Have you ever time traveled? Don't worry, I won't tell
yeah,
anyone.
no. We did jump in the winter when she told us not to. And you know what happened? My brother fell through and I had to pull him out. And then we had to walk the like half mile back to our house from this creek. And it was winter in Minnesota. So there's snow and cold. And then we did get yelled at because we got busted, obviously, with someone with a wet, cold foot when we got into the house. So that was our lesson of never jumping into the creek. So that was
Stay
my
out of the
lesson.
pond.
Right.
Hey, before we go, I just want to do one quick thing. I remember back when we had Sydney on, we were doing our Christmas recaps, and Finish Line was a great movie that both of you guys liked, and we did the
Yeah.
dog racing, and you talked about that. How do you pronounce it? Ely?
Ely. Yeah.
Ely. So my friend coincidentally just went and did that. I told you, right? And there was plenty of snow. Like I said, I don't know. You told me how they canceled a race, so maybe it wasn't enough for some big
Professionals. I don't think,
type
yeah.
long race or
The
anything.
Gunflint Trail
But
was
he
closed.
said it was really cool and it was a lot harder physically than you would think. Like he was surprised at how like physically challenging it was, but he said it was really cool. So I just found it really crazy that I didn't know there was recreational
I didn't either.
dog sled. You
Yeah,
mentioned it that your
I
friend went and
know.
did it, and then lo and behold, because my friend, like he was my roommate at Arizona. I lived with him in California. He now lives in Alabama, right?
Funny.
Yet he's from Minnesota, but he just happened to be going. That was like him and his wife's like sort of lifelong dream to dog sled, which
I
I
know,
never
since
knew.
the finish line, I have now heard of like 3 different dog sledding like tales. I'm like, what?
And
I
it's
didn't
like,
even know
yeah.
this was a thing.
To which, yes, a month ago I had 0 dog sledding
Yeah,
tales. So.
I love it.
Well, so therefore, if anyone listening wants to go dog sledding, head up to northern
And
Minnesota. He sent a
yeah,
picture of
because
Lake Superior.
we
It
don't
just
have
looks
much snow
cold.
here. Don't have much snow here.
All right.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure as always. Let's talk
I don't
Spencer
know.
Sisters next.
Yeah, with our very special guest,
Yeah,
Dara
stay
from
tuned.
Dear Hallmark. Welcome, Dara. I have a question for you though.
Yes, Eric.
How the heck, when we invited you to come on and talk about Gourmet Detective, we said, oh, we also have an episode where we're going to talk about The Way Home and the Spencer Sisters. And you said, yeah, I'll talk Spencer Sisters, but no The Way Home for me. How do I want to get that? Like Andrea makes me watch the show. Tell me how to get out of that.
Really, you just say that exact same thing. Just say, yeah, I'll do the Spencer Sisters, but the way home, no comprende. Start speaking a complete other
Uh,
language, and then maybe she won't let you do it.
all
I
right, so
don't know.
next week
Wait, so have you
when
never seen The Way Home, Dar?
I watched the first season and then said, take me out, coach, after that.
You didn't
It was
like season one?
exhausting. I enjoyed it as a show, but I think it just made me feel weird as a Hallmark person that it was on Hallmark. I think that's what made me feel weird. And then it got exhausting. And I'm just like, I just don't, I was in the camp where it's just like, I don't want to watch this on Hallmark. So ultimately I was just like, I'll just get the spark notes from different people's reviews and just keep up that way. So
it is
yeah.
exhausting.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a good way
It's
to
fun.
describe it.
It's fun though. Just like this, the Spencer Sisters.
This is fun.
This
Yes.
is
Yes. So this one, a recap, the executive's elegy. When CEO Marlon finds her fiance drowned, Victoria and Darby investigate. So, Dara, since you're our guest, you can kick us off with
Wait, before we go, we have to address the name, which we were just talking before we started recording.
elegy.
Elegy.
I was just
Andrea
going
and
to breeze
I,
past that. I'm just
well,
ignore
no,
that.
Eric's
that's
like,
what
no, no, no.
Andrea and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
were like, it has to be eulogy. It has to be misspelled. Because what's elegy? And we had to do the Google. And the Google says, what did the Google call it again? It was some sort of
A prose
poem.
and poems. I
Yes,
mean, I asked this at work, and
a
everyone
poem of
also agreed
serious
with me.
reflection.
They didn't know what it was either. So,
She ain't reflect nothing this entire episode.
You know,
no.
this episode is an elegy of the Spencer sisters. So Dara,
We're gonna do poems.
yes, Dara, please do all of your review in rhyme.
So once I woke and watched TV and watched Victoria and Darby, I was
Ooh.
excited to see that there was another mystery. That's all I got.
That was amazing.
That's
You
all I
got 3 more than I would have. But
Oh.
in all fairness, like I say, you are formally educated in the prose and all of that. So
Yes, that's what I got my undergraduate degree in. It's funny, I never looked at the title of the episode literally until right before we recorded this. So I didn't even know that that was what it's called, and it doesn't make sense to me at all. That's why I think they're just really trying to be fancy and deep for no reason, because I don't think that that needs to be the title of it at all.
that's why you went to school, just so you could discuss this episode.
And now I'm using my degree. Finally, like this is what I worked for. This is it.
Okay.
Oh. Well, what did you like then, Dara?
I love Leah Thompson because a quick aside, I really didn't like Chicken Sisters. I only went in like maybe 3 episodes. I know. Kick me off now. Well, I won't be invited back, y'all. It's been real. I enjoy Leah Thompson's acting in Chicken Sisters, and then seeing her as a completely different personality in this makes me enjoy it so much more. I love her. And then we just saw Stacy and Hanako on the Rock. So it's cool to see her in this aspect as well. And so watching them two together, I think they're a perfect mother-daughter pairing. And I'm here for the shenanigans because that's exactly what Victoria Spencer brings. I mean, as soon as the episode opens and the cop is like, "Sir, ma'am, you can't be here," she's like, "I'm Victoria Spencer." And then she just continues. Well, she's like, "Do you know who I am?" Like, I enjoy the mother-daughter relationship and all the hijinks and things that goes on throughout all of the episodes. So, yeah, I am enjoying my time. Are you guys enjoying
I am. This is still only I have not watched any other episodes, so I'm only two in because I didn't want to have to rewatch and remember which one before we share our thoughts. So
Ah,
I am enjoying it. I think, I mean, comparing it to the first one, since those are the only two, like I feel like they're both on par. I don't have like a favorite between the two of them. I liked
mhm.
that the ex-boyfriend was kind of, more in this one, and maybe he'll play again since I haven't seen. Maybe he'll be in future ones and they'll roll out that relationship, or maybe it will just be done. But I like that they're giving more, as I said, I'm a settings person. So that, okay, like maybe we'll go to the hospital and we'll have that as maybe one of our places that we visit, and throw in a coffee shop, like those little things. And then
Yeah,
that kind of rounds out the series for myself. So I enjoyed it. And I think that they're expanding on their universe. And I hope to see more of that over the next few episodes. So it worked
yeah.
for me. There is one thing I didn't like, which I'll share in a little bit. But
Ooh.
Eric, what'd you like?
I'm with Dara. I think the dynamic between Leah and Stacy, I, I'm convinced they really are mother-daughter. And,
Mm-hmm.
she just uses, Stacy Farber just uses like her stage name so she doesn't have nepotism or something like that because they just have, we'll be talking on Thursday about Gourmet Detective. We talk about chemistry there. This is the mother-daughter energy, just awesome. Like their little spats they have, the looks they give each other. It's just awesome. And then, obviously there's drama in it because Stacy has baggage from how you know, Victoria it was with a mom,
Yeah.
but they don't do it in a heavy type way, but we still get it. And then I'll admit I've never been like this huge Leah Thompson fan, but like I didn't actually think she was great in Chicken Sisters. I also didn't think Chicken Sisters was. I thought it started out well and then sort of petered, but I think she is so good in this. We Andrea and I always are talking about nonverbal,
Yeah.
and you know we can talk about Howling Holiday or whatever the hell it was, and how
Ooh,
Ezra
no,
had
let's not. Oh
no
gosh.
like idea what
Dead behind the
nonverbal
eyes.
was, right?
Dead behind the
But
eyes.
But Leah, her like non-verbalness, the looks she can give are just like a twitch of the eyebrow kind of thing. It just says everything without her saying anything. So I just love her character. Love her character.
Well, what about anything we didn't like, Dara?
Ooh. It's gonna be hard. And at this point, I'm probably nitpicking. I don't know. Okay, so the executive who has the elegy that the episode tells us that she has, which she doesn't, y'all. That's sarcasm. But I felt like her kids looked older than her. Like that part, like
Mm.
that I didn't believe that she was a mom to all three of them. Like that wasn't believable to me. So that was the only thing that probably stood out to me from a bad sense with it. But yeah, I enjoyed
Well,
it more so than not.
well, she's a CEO of a huge pharmaceutical company, so I'm sure she has some sort of, voodoo cream that she puts on herself that makes her look like she's 30 years old. Couple injections and
Yeah.
things.
Uh, well, for me, I didn't like the actual murderer. I just had a question mark. I'm like, who was this again? Like, I feel like it was a very typical kind of Hallmark, and this obviously wasn't created by Hallmark, but like we briefly introduced this character, and then I kind of had to recall, wait, we got him for like a second. How did he connect to this story? But I did like his running away scene and going down that hill. I found that kind of entertaining. So that made up for the murderer choice by him just falling down the hill.
That made my notes too.
What about you, Eric? Anything you didn't like?
So for me, I think the detective who's, the incompetent detective, and I understand it's a 44-minute episode, so it's hard to get a lot of screen time and still tell stories. But I think they could and should be bringing him a little bit more in as an antagonist. So having a little more interaction, run-ins with him, as opposed to he's at the beginning and then he's at the end, and that's it. So I think there should be a little more of that antagonistic relationship with him. Which, by the way, I just realized, and I don't know, Dara, have you made it all the way through the series or
Almost. Yeah.
almost? So I stopped watching because for Andrea's same reason, where I was like, oh wait, I'll get them all confused and I'll start reviewing, like talking about another episode. So I sort of shut off after. I think I'm through six, but like, I don't remember if does he wear that coat, his Columbo style like overcoat thing on? Do you remember? Because
I
that's what I was
believe
thinking.
so.
I was thinking he was trying to
Yeah.
project himself as a Columbo, even though he's
Yes.
obviously not thoughtful like Columbo was. So, but I think,
Yes.
like I say, that's
Oh,
it. I think they should just figure out a way to have him be more part of it, part of that relationship kind of thing.
Well, what about the actual mystery itself? Dara, what do you think?
I thought it was cool. It gave us an excuse to go to the hospital to see our guy. I forget his name. I forget the one that she knew from back in the day that her mother wants her with. But
Was
it's
that not her
always
ex?
great.
Is that her ex-boyfriend or no?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't, well, so that's one of her exes from like back in the day.
I
That's
was
what I
like,
was thinking, but I'm not 100% sure. It seemed like
yeah,
they dated in their interactions on screen.
it's Lucas.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's her like old like
High
high
school?
school
High
boyfriend.
Yeah.
I
school.
think it's Lucas,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. I believe so. But he's easy on the eyes. So it's always a good time when he comes on screen. So any mystery that gets us to the hospital, I'm here for. And um Andrea, to your point, I too forgot. It was a lot of like windy roads, and I forgot who the culprit was at the end as well. So I actually had to watch it again because I was like, wait, who was it? And then once we got to the Red Bull, that's when it dawned upon me. So I was like, oh yeah, I remember. But overall, I thought it was standard. It wasn't too complicated to me. But yeah, I thought it was cool. It was enjoyable.
Yeah, for me, like I liked the murder of like the drowning and then like, oh,
Mm,
he was a lifeguard and like how they kind of got him to be, oh, he was on medications and then how did that metal and how it all connected. I liked it. I liked that elements of it. Again, I didn't really like the murderer they picked. I mean, again, like, okay, it's fine. Now that I know if that's what they're gonna do in all of the episodes, I'll be like Hallmark ready of like we might only get like 5 seconds with the killer and be prepared that might be the person. So that to me, it was fine. Um, I don't know if I might have liked the first one maybe better, I guess the mystery itself. But
Yeah,
again, I'm not like I hated it. Like I'm enjoying this. It's a fun little like mystery of the week type of TV show.
yeah.
Eric, you
If
don't
they
like that
it
I don't like that?
Well, no, but if they had a sport court in their big mansion, you'd be like, I love this one. The way he was playing basketball out there.
They had
That's
the workout stuff, and
that's the
obviously
only
I'm a
reason
trainer. I mean, I enjoyed that aspect. That was kind of a fun, cheesy commercial that they did.
Oh,
uh,
that was
it
hilarious.
was. Remind me of Andrew Walker and Jingle Bell Run at the beginning when he's doing his practice.
Yes. Oh, and John Brotherton in Christmas contest when he's doing his commercial for his energy
Yes.
drink or whatever. Yeah.
We need to
Love
make one
it.
of those. We need to make one of those for the podcast. Are you a sleuther? Bam! This is your
Yeah.
podcast.
Good one.
You gotta
Love
do
it.
those comic book like talking
Like
things and it's
pow.
like boom,
The
yes.
Batmans.
All right, Eric, that's your homework.
All right. I may fail. All right. For me personally, I thought this mystery was a lot more interesting than the first one. The whole pharmaceutical company, getting their little hacker friend, oh, it wasn't quite, traditional the way we got this information. Once again, Leah, just the way she does things with her looks and stuff, where she'll say the line, but the look says even more. And I just found it a whole bunch of fun. It was twists and turns. I will say, kind of to your point, Andrea, I think it was formulaic and where you're like, oh, it's going to be the jealous husband thing. I just knew it. So right away, I was like, there's the guy. But I still had fun watching it all unwrap. So I thought it took some good twists, some good turns. Oh, there's nothing in the autopsy, but wait, we'll get this that potentially no one knows about and get that and, find out that drug. And so in that aspect, I thought it was an interesting, fun mystery that took a while to get to. And like I say, even if you knew, you still had fun doing it.
Well, what about any standout scene or performance? Dara, did you have any fun breakout scenes?
My favorite is the hospital, not for our doctor, but for what Eric, literally what you just talked about with Leah Thompson trying to get into the morgue to get the file. That whole, like, as soon as she saw Doctor coming and she's like, oh, he can't see me. And like the way she turns around and keeps her head, turned around so he doesn't see her. That whole thing, like, I was waiting for that scene when I watched it again. I thought that was brilliant. And then Stacey's character, Darby, trying to keep our doctor keep him occupied while and then the way she talked, the way mom talked to the cop, like everything about it was just it was funny and I loved it. It was hijinks, it was shenanigans, and I loved it.
I love that too when she's like, "Oh, if you have to, try to flirt." Like, try to flirt.
She was like, well, you won't get him with that attitude. Come on, have some confidence in yourself.
Oh, I love it. Well, mine is the mother-daughter with the murder board when they were, the mom's creating that, and they're like, well, the pros don't actually use these, which then got me thinking, wait, do they not actually use murder boards?
Detective Schultz does.
I feel like we need I'm sure, right? There's got to be an actual detective that listens to our podcast. Let us know. Do you use a real murder board? Because now I'm intrigued of maybe they don't actually use them and they just use them in the movies, but I think they're fun. They probably don't do the Goldie, decorating of him, but it's nice for visual people. I'm a visual person. I need all that up there. So I'm intrigued.
I always am intrigued, by the way, in the murder boards, how they get pictures of everybody when they're just the random sleuth.
That is,
how do you actually have a picture of this guy? Right? But whatever.
That's a good one. What about you, Eric?
All right, I have sort of two. My first one is Noelle, who's played by Lisa Marie Di Giacinto, but she was also Kathleen in the Gourmet Detective that we watched last week. Kathleen the one who got murdered.
Oh.
So little tie-in to the Gourmet Detective. So just had fun with that. And then also my scene was when he was running away after being caught. He runs 10 feet and falls down. I just was cracking up because not only did he fall down, he stayed down where Stacey was like, I guess I got to go because, of course, Leah's like, I've got this, full out heels on, so I'm not chasing him. You go, kind of thing. By the way, so from my understanding, there's no second season of this because CW or whoever. By the way, we were wrong, Andrea. It was aired on CW here in the United States. I've never watched CW in my entire life, so I'm forgiven for not knowing it was on that.
One Tree Hill.
No, not my thing. But
Gosh,
but I guess they have no budget or whatever to do the second one. So, we're all crossing our fingers that Hallmark will decide, hey, we like it and want to do one. I think the reason they have no budget is Leah's wardrobe. She looks phenomenal. That woman dresses. Victoria?
Maybe it's her real clothes, like Mary Lou Henner.
Ponlo Mary Lou.
Maybe.
Then Leah knows how to dress because she looks great in every single scene, which is part of her character, right? Where she makes fun of Darby, who shows up in her sweatpants and whatever, nacho stained t-shirt. And then you got at 7 a.m, you got Victoria already all to the nines. So yeah, so when he falls down and just stays down, I thought it was hilarious. I was thinking about the actor, the director. Stay down, stay down.
And he slowly backed away like that Homer Simpson gif
Right.
into the that's how he just slowly started walking back and then tried to run. I thought that was brilliant. That was so brilliant.
Agreed. Well, any other final thoughts on this episode from either of you?
I just like that we get the official, with mom giving the Spencer sisters cards. It was kind of cementing, this is our official Spencer sisters agency. So let's go. Let's be prepared for the ride. I just thought that was so beautiful of that little point, acknowledging that, acknowledging that. And yeah, I think y'all are going to enjoy the ride. So
I'm excited. Yeah, mine are just I'm looking forward to diving into this and really doing it week by week. I mean, it's having to restrain myself from wanting to binge it because I'm I kind of want to, but Traders started on Peacock, which I love that show. And so that has like held my interest, and I already binged all of 3 new episodes. So already dove into that, but that is my little mystery element, because I do love a good mystery series or like some gameplay like that. And I feel like Traders, if you haven't watched it, I have recommended it actually in my DMs because somebody asked. I said, this is a good like mystery game-ish. You don't have to know the stars. So like the reality stars or the like I don't watch any of the Survivor and all of those. I still find it intriguing. So give that a watch if you're craving some mystery.
Well,
Eric?
I'm right there with you because I got a cold, flu, whatever, over around Christmas. Then I got better. And then this week I went ahead and got sick again. And I was just knocked out Wednesday and Thursday. And I'm laying in bed with my iPad and I'm just wanting to watch some more Spencer Sisters. And it was all my willpower not to finish off the season. So I feel ya because I'm loving that mother-daughter dynamic. To your point too, there's also the flip side of the card of getting the call from the Hamilton police and, you know, deny. So, it seems like they're all in. And I'm enjoying it. I love the series too, because this is one that doesn't take itself too serious, right?
Yeah.
They know, yes, they're doing mysteries, but they're having fun with it.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a dead person, but they're still having fun with it.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming on
You know
and
what?
chatting with us, Dara.
She's so interesting. Let's bring her back to talk about Gourmet Detective. What do you say?
Well, let's bring her back on Thursday.
Oh, you guys are so kind. I love it here.
All right. Well, everyone take care.
Until next time.
Bye.